Blood spills, secrets burn, and trust shatters. Episode 9 is not just another chapter. It's the storm we've been waiting for. Every promise, every betrayal, and every bond built in silence will now be tested in the open. This is where the story stops holding back, and nothing will ever be the same. Episode 8 left us on the edge of a cliff, and Episode 9 wastes no time pulling us straight into chaos. The first glimpse of the trailer begins with a dark sky torn apart by fire and smoke, a scene that feels less like a battle and more like the end of an age. The faces we thought we could trust are hidden in shadows, their voices carrying both loyalty and deception. The silence before the storm is gone, and in its place stands a battlefield where family is no longer defined by blood alone, but by choices that could save or destroy everything. The trailer wastes no time setting a tone of dread. A lone rider cuts through the mist, his cloak torn, his sword dripping with the weight of his last fight. In the background, banners burn, collapsing one by one as if entire houses are falling in seconds. This isn't just a war for land, it's a war for legacy. The words echo, "Blood of my blood." And suddenly it becomes clear that Episode 9 will ask the ultimate question. What does loyalty mean when survival itself is in question? The camera shifts quickly, revealing a face we haven't seen since the early episodes, and the shock of their return freezes time. The music rises, sharp and relentless, dragging us deeper into this web of secrets. The silence of the dead is replaced by the screams of the living, and in that clash of steel and blood, we know something irreversible is about to happen. The trailer doesn't give us answers, but it shows enough to set fire to our imagination. Who returns to claim vengeance? Who bends the knee? And who dares to rise against it all? Every frame of this teaser breathes danger. The sound of chains rattling in the dark suggests that old prisoners are about to be set free, and their freedom will cost more than gold. A single drop of blood falls on stone, and the shot lingers, reminding us that every death carries weight. Every sacrifice will echo through generations. The narrator's words drive the message home. Family binds us. Family breaks us. Episode 9 looks ready to tear apart everything the story has built so far. The promises of peace are gone. The whispers of rebellion are now open cries for war. In the shadows, an heir claims their right. A queen questions her crown, and a soldier questions whether honor still has meaning in a world ruled by fear. This first look makes it clear. Episode 9 isn't about survival. It's about who dares to shape the ashes into something new. The trailer ends its first act not with a scream, but with silence. A silence filled with dread, heavy enough to make even the strongest characters seem fragile. And as the screen fades to black, one line echoes louder than any sword strike. Blood always remembers. That is not just a promise. It's a warning. Episode 8 was not just a stepping stone. It was a battlefield of secrets, choices, and sacrifices that brought every character closer to the edge. It began with silence, the kind that hides storms behind still skies. But soon, the silence shattered as betrayal bled into loyalty, and the lines between friend and enemy blurred like smoke over fire. The story left us breathless, not because of what was said, but because of what was left unsaid. At the heart of Episode 8 stood a promise broken. A brother's word, once stronger than steel, cracked under the weight of ambition. His eyes, once steady, shifted with guilt as he chose power over kin. The scene was quiet, but the silence spoke volumes. That single choice carved a wound so deep, it will haunt the family long after the dust of war has settled. The battlefield was painted not only with blood, but with doubt. Soldiers who once fought with pride now questioned every order. The clash of swords was nothing compared to the clash of hearts, for in every strike there was hesitation. In every retreat, there was regret. And somewhere in the corner of that chaos, an oath was whispered that may reshape the very foundation of what is to come in Episode 9. One of the most haunting moments came not from battle, but from a child's cry. In the halls of firelit stone, the heir to a legacy stood trembling, watching power shift like sand beneath his feet. He reached out, not for a crown, but for comfort, yet none came. That image, small hands shaking while giants fought above him, reminded us that this tale is not only about those who lead, but about those who are left behind. Episode 8 made sure we understood. Innocence has no place in a world where blood demands blood. And yet, even in betrayal, there was sacrifice. A loyal guardian gave up everything to protect a secret that must never be revealed. His fall was not loud. It was quiet, noble, and full of meaning. As his blade slipped from his hand and his final breath left his lips, it wasn't just a man who died. It was hope itself. That moment closed a chapter of loyalty, but opened a door to vengeance, and vengeance never walks alone. Episode 8 ended not with triumph, but with doubt. A fire lit the sky, a shadow stretched across the land, and a single question echoed in every heart. Who still stands for truth, and who is ready to burn the world for power? The final frame left us frozen, two figures divided by blood, staring across a field of ruin. Their silence was not peace. It was war waiting to break loose. Now, as we step into Episode 9, the weight of Episode 8 hangs heavy in every frame. The betrayals, the sacrifices, the cries of the innocent, and the fall of the loyal are not just memories. They are chains pulling every character deeper into the storm. What began as whispers and shadows has now become the roar of destiny. The dust of Episode 8 has not yet settled, and already Episode 9 rises like a storm on the horizon. This is no gentle continuation. This is the breaking point where everything that has been whispered, hidden, and feared steps into the light. Episode 9 does not ask questions politely. It demands answers, and it demands them in blood. The first shots of the trailer are sharp, like blades drawn in the night. We see a kingdom split in half, walls trembling as fires consume banners once sworn to unity. The air feels heavy, as though even the sky knows what is coming. There is no laughter, no feast, no peace. Instead, every heartbeat in the trailer thunders like a drum of war, telling us that what was once politics and betrayal is about to transform into full confrontation. Episode 9 carries the weight of broken promises, and it wears it like armor. We hear voices speaking of loyalty, but their tones are cracked with doubt. We see soldiers sharpening their blades, not for their enemies, but for those who once stood beside them. Trust, once a fragile thread, has snapped, and now each character moves as though the ground beneath them is about to collapse. This is no longer a struggle for survival alone. It is a war for the very meaning of family, for the legacy of blood of my blood. But within the shadows, another theme begins to rise. Power. Not the kind spoken in council halls, but the raw, violent power of survival at any cost. A queen's face flashes across the screen, her crown tilted, her eyes filled not with sorrow but with rage. A warrior kneels, his blade touching the earth, not in surrender, but in preparation. And somewhere in the silence, a voice whispers, "The time has come." That single phrase shakes the frame with a force greater than steel, because we know the time spoken of is not for peace, but for reckoning. Episode 9 teases us with glimpses of choices that will shatter bonds forever. A brother standing at a crossroads, one path leading to honor, the other to betrayal. A child's tear-streaked face hidden in shadows. A reminder that innocence still lingers, even as the world grows darker. A blade raised not against strangers, but against kin. Every frame of this trailer carries a heartbeat, and every heartbeat races toward disaster. The music swells as if the trailer itself can no longer contain what is coming. The drums grow faster, the horns sharper, and the silence between beats feels longer than any dialogue. Episode 9 is not here to comfort. It is here to ignite, to remind us that loyalty has a price, and that love can be as dangerous as hate when blood is on the line. And just as we think the storm cannot grow darker, the trailer cuts to black, leaving us with only a single line whispered through the void. In the end, blood remembers. It is not a promise, it is not hope. It is a warning, and it sets the stage for an episode that will test every oath, every bond, and every heart. Episode 9 is no longer about waiting. It is about choosing. And in that choice, someone will rise, someone will fall, and someone will be remembered only through the ashes they leave behind. The trailer for Episode 9 doesn't open with words. It opens with silence. A silence so heavy it feels like the world itself is holding its breath. Out of that darkness, a single torch flares to life, its flame flickering against stone walls marked with blood. The camera pulls back to reveal a corridor, empty yet echoing with whispers, as though the very walls remember the betrayals that happened within them. Then the silence breaks. The sound of hooves strikes the earth as a lone rider charges across a battlefield drowned in fog. His face is hidden, but his blade gleams red, dripping with a story we have not yet been told. Behind him, shadows rise, soldiers faceless, countless, ready to march into a war that will not end with honor. The music rises, each beat like a war drum, pulling us deeper into the storm. A flash of light cuts to a queen standing before her shattered throne. Her crown lies crooked, her gaze unflinching, her lips trembling with words too heavy to speak. Around her the hall burns, tapestries falling like dying leaves. She clutches the armrest of her throne, not in triumph, but in defiance, as though she knows that power is slipping from her grasp even as she fights to hold it. The next image strikes like a dagger, a reunion cloaked in shadows. Two figures face one another across a ruined courtyard. Their eyes are filled not with joy but with rage and sorrow, the kind only blood can bring. The trailer lingers on this moment, long enough for us to feel the weight of their silence. And just when we expect words, the screen cuts away, leaving the question burning. Are they allies reborn or enemies reborn? A chain rattles in the dark, and with it comes the image of a prisoner, their hands bound, their eyes glowing with defiance. The camera never reveals who it is, but the sound of their breath tells us they are not broken. One frame shows the lock, another shows the key, and then the screen bursts into fire before the truth can be revealed. The message is clear. Secrets are being unchained, and when they are set free, they will not return quietly. The pace quickens. A blade slices through air. A hand clasps another in desperate grip. A child screams in the night. A figure cloaked in black raises a banner, the sigil half burned but still defiant. Each shot is short, sharp, designed not to explain, but to ignite questions that won't let us sleep. Then comes the betrayal. A trusted face appears in torchlight, speaking vows of loyalty, yet their hand tightens on the hilt of a blade. The music cuts, silence stretches, and the scene freezes as though the moment itself cannot decide if this will end in blood or mercy. The trailer refuses to tell us. It only shows the eyes, cold, determined, unforgiving. Finally, the storm breaks. Flames consume the screen as voices chant, "Blood of my blood," the words echoing until they feel less like a vow and more like a curse. A battlefield drenched in fire and steel fills the frame, bodies colliding like waves crashing against a cliff. In the center, a lone figure stands with arms raised, screaming into the chaos, not in fear, but in triumph, or perhaps madness. The image burns into the screen before fading into black. The trailer ends with only one sound, the steady drop of blood onto stone, each drop echoing like a heartbeat. Then a voice whispers the line that will haunt every viewer until the episode arrives. In the end, blood remembers what mercy forgets. Episode 9 is not only about battles or betrayals, it is about the people caught within them. Every character stands at the edge of a choice, and each choice has the power to change not just their fate, but the fate of everyone bound to them by blood, oath, or fear. The stakes are no longer political. They are personal. At the center of it all stands the brother who traded loyalty for ambition. Episode 8 showed us the first cracks in his soul, but Episode 9 promises to break it wide open. The trailer shows his silhouette against firelight, his face hidden, his sword lowered as though even he cannot decide what kind of man he has become. Is he still a brother, bound by blood, or has he become the very enemy he once swore to fight? His silence is louder than any vow, and his next move may determine whether the family stands or falls. Opposite him, the queen clings to her crumbling throne. Her crown no longer shines. It cuts into her like chains of gold. The trailer shows her gaze sharp with fury, yet heavy with sorrow, as though she knows the cost of holding power is greater than her strength can carry. But Episode 9 hints at something deeper. A queen not simply trying to survive, but deciding how much of her humanity she is willing to sacrifice for her crown. Will she rule with fire or fall with dignity? The heir, still a child, becomes the most fragile yet most dangerous piece of this puzzle. His eyes in the trailer are wide with fear, yet filled with questions no child should have to ask. He is caught between bloodlines, torn between loyalty to the mother who protects him and the father who betrays him. In his silence lies the future, for his innocence is both weapon and weakness. Episode 9 makes it clear. This child is no longer just a victim of war, but a symbol of what is left to fight for. The loyal guardian's shadow lingers, though his body has fallen. Episode 9 reminds us that even the dead leave marks on the living. A blade once held by his hand appears in the trailer, now grasped by another. His sacrifice echoes through every frame, reminding us that loyalty is never buried, it only changes hands. His death was the spark, but the fire he lit is far from finished. And then there are the whispers of the prisoner. The camera never reveals their full face, yet their presence grows heavier with every cut of the trailer. The way the chains rattle, the way the camera lingers on their hands, the way their breath echoes in silence, all of it tells us that when they rise, they will not rise quietly. Whoever this figure is, their freedom will rewrite the story, and perhaps destroy the fragile balance still left. The stakes of Episode 9 are more than crowns, swords, or thrones. They are about the meaning of blood of my blood. Does blood demand loyalty even when trust is shattered? Does blood demand sacrifice even when hearts are broken? Or does blood become meaningless when survival itself becomes the only truth? Every character must answer these questions in Episode 9, and none of them will escape unscarred. By the end of the trailer, it is clear. This is not just about winning or losing. It is about what each character is willing to destroy, and who they are willing to become, in order to stand when the smoke clears. Episode 9 will not just test their strength, it will test their souls. The trailer ends as it began, with silence. But this silence feels different. It isn't the calm before the storm. It is the silence of a battlefield after the first blow has fallen. Ash drifts across the screen. The flames have dimmed, and all that remains is the echo of voices repeating the same vow again and again. Blood of my blood. The words do not sound like loyalty anymore. They sound like a curse carved into stone, a chain that none of them can escape. One final image flashes. A face, half in shadow, half in firelight. Their eyes are unblinking, their expression unreadable, but their presence shakes everything we have seen before. The trailer refuses to tell us who this figure truly is, yet the weight of that moment suggests they are the key to everything. A savior or a destroyer, an heir to legacy or the end of it. We cannot know, not yet, but the silence around them screams louder than any battle cry. The music swells only to vanish, leaving a heartbeat echoing through the darkness. Each beat grows louder, sharper, until it feels like it belongs to us, the viewers, pounding in our own chests. Then a final voice cuts through the void, whispering words that burn into memory. When the last drop falls, blood will remember, and with that, the screen fades to black, leaving us suspended between dread and wonder. Episode 9 is not simply promising answers, it is promising consequences. Every choice from the past, every betrayal, every sacrifice is about to bear its fruit. And as the trailer shows, not all of that fruit will be sweet. This is no longer about survival, it is about legacy. About who will rise from the ashes and who will be buried beneath them. Now the story belongs to us as much as it belongs to them. What do you believe those final whispers mean? Who do you think the shadowed figure is? An ally returned from exile, or an enemy cloaked in kinship? Do you believe loyalty can survive when blood itself becomes a weapon? Or has Episode 9 already decided that blood is the one truth that cannot be escaped? The trailer gives us glimpses, but the full storm is still hidden. And when it arrives, no one will be safe. Not the queen who clings to her throne, not the brother who walks between love and betrayal, not the child who trembles beneath their shadow. Episode 9 will not show us who they are. It will show us who they become. So prepare for the reckoning. Watch the skies, remember the whispers, and brace yourself for the storm that will decide the future of this story. Because when the episode drops, one thing is certain: we will not leave the same way we entered. And now, the choice is yours. Share your theories below. Tell us who you think will rise, who will fall, and who will be remembered in the ashes. Don't forget to subscribe, because every heartbeat, every breakdown, and every hidden clue will be revealed here as soon as it arrives. Episode 9 is coming. Blood will be spilled, and blood will remember. The screen fades to black, but the story does not end here. It waits, hidden in the silence, breathing in the shadows, preparing to strike when Episode 9 begins. Every whisper we have heard, every secret we have seen, every sacrifice that has stained the ground with blood, none of it was for nothing. It has all been leading to this. The theme of blood of my blood is no longer just a vow spoken in loyalty. It has become the blade that cuts through trust, the fire that consumes kingdoms, the chain that binds even the strongest hearts. Episode 9 promises to test that chain until it breaks, or until it pulls everyone down with it. The question is no longer who holds the throne, but who still holds their soul when the throne itself crumbles. We are standing at the threshold of a reckoning. A brother torn between love and power. A queen clutching a crown that slips through her fingers like sand. A child who has seen too much yet still carries the weight of innocence. A prisoner who waits in silence, knowing that freedom is both gift and curse. And an heir whose very breath could spark either hope or ruin. These are not just characters. They are storms in human form, colliding in a world that can no longer hold them all. The trailer does not give us answers. It gives us visions, shadows of what is to come, painted in fire and silence. But it leaves us with a truth we cannot escape. Episode 9 is not a continuation. It is a judgment. Every wrong choice will be punished. Every betrayal will be repaid. And every drop of blood spilled will remember. As the echo of the final whisper lingers, blood will remember what mercy forgets. We are left with questions that burn hotter than fire. Who will survive when family turns to enemy? Who will rise when loyalty becomes a weapon? And who will be remembered when the ashes settle and the silence returns? The storm is coming, and it will not wait. When the first strike lands in Episode 9, there will be no turning back, so hold your breath, sharpen your theories, and prepare for the moment that will change everything. Comment below, who do you believe the shadowed figure is? Who will rise and who will fall? And if you don't want to miss a single breakdown, subscribe now, because every heartbeat of this story will be revealed right here. Blood will be tested. Blood will be spilled, and blood will remember.